The tech demos are done to demonstrate technologies and also to test the waters.
The coolest memory here at Crytek was the moment of building the climb.
There were lots of iterations about how crazy the dinosaurs could look like.
So basically, the first tries in VR has been tech demos.
The tech demos are usually done to demonstrate technologies and also to test the waters. So it has a marketing effect for us, but at the same time also it's helpful to drive innovations in Crytek.
Looks like you droids can use some muscle.
As such, we developed a very short and simple first experience, which was just like experiencing in a passive way a dinosaur coming at your way, roaring at you and mimicking your, let's say, head movements.
I wasn't too involved with it, but then the Back to Dinosaur Island 2 demo, that was so cool.
The second one was a bit more interactive. We had a zip line placed, you had to grab to them, make your way up, and obviously you had still interaction all the way up.
You had the sensation of this cliff below you, you have birds flying around you. There was parts of the climb mechanic already in, because you grabbed onto like a zip line, it would move you up. The coolest memory here at Crytek was the moment of building the climb. The team was tasked to think about ways to traverse the level. So there were like a couple of tasks spread around in the team, and one of them was climbing. Back then I was climbing myself, and I was thinking about that climbing task, which wasn't assigned to me at first. Back then the VR device didn't have hand tracking. There was no hand tracking in the first versions of VR, so we had just the device, so we had just positional tracking of the head and nothing else. And that was the moment where I thought, when I climb on a wall, I look where I grab. So I don't need positional tracking of my hands, because I look on the grip I want to grip, and that's just where my hand needs to be. It was just intuitive. It's two buttons I need to press in my head, moving around, to navigate it onto a wall. And that felt great. And then there was this prototype. A prototype where you had two hands in front of you, and then there was left trigger and right trigger. And then suddenly there was Shepard testing it, saying, we can make a game out of that. Some time later, people from Oculus on site, they saw the mechanic I've built, the climbing mechanic, and they just said, we want just that. We want the climb. That's how it was born.
I love VR, so after getting my dream project with the Overgrown City, next thing I got was a VR project, which I always thought I would love to make something for VR. So I had a really good run in this company, just always getting something I like.
I mean, Climb is basically about picture postcard scenarios where you are climbing on a cliffside in the most beautiful scenery.
And also catering to the style that was established by the art direction, right? It was a specific, very sporty, but not hardcore, like not like those events when the people do like really dangerous things, but more like a relaxing, zen, a festive theme, right? Young and colorful.
You start somewhere and you see your checkpoints, A, B, C, and you know, like, that's the mountain cliff, that's the highest position, and that's where you're gonna go.
Nature was, of course, based on realism, but there was a lot of grips, custom grips, there was gloves, there were zipline, all the human-made inventions that still need to be there.
Normally we work for assets that are far away, mid-distance, and that just rush around and you never really focus on them. Now you just focus on every little bit of rock and plant because it's right in front of your face and you get super close to it. So that was also a very interesting experience. I got the job that normally happens to weapons or character having close-up hands or close-up weapons, and now we as the environment were the close-up phenomena.
The biggest challenge is the performance, I think, almost on these type of titles. And then there's, of course, other challenges that come with it, like how normal maps appear, you know, just light reflecting off a surface which works on a flat screen will not give you the same impression in a more three-dimensional space. And you perceive proportions a bit differently sometimes. It's also more important to be accurate to proportions in a way. You can gauge all this stuff much better.
We had one girl from our HR team back then. She would be trying out our first finished map, and she was holding so tight to the controller, not letting go. And that made me realize we are on something here, because she was so sold on the idea that I could see others being sold as well.
So Vertigo works awesome in VR. All you need is your eyes. Your eyes tell you depth, your eyes tell you perspective, and the VR devices, they give you that depth feeling. And you look down, you're tricked. The device will trick your brain and you will feel true vertigo. When we got the motion controllers, I had to first prototype, how does it work? Will it work, or will it feel totally awkward and weird? But it was just no questions asked. Easy implementation, you know, there's nothing you can do wrong. You have hands, you grab something, you move down, you move up. There's nothing we could technically even change on the mechanic. It just works.
Basically, there is tech development that enables the artists, and then there are the artists who actually make the best out of it. So it really feeds back into each other.
I think, you know, the good thing at Crytek is we own our engine. We built the CryEngine, and if we make a game and it has needs, then we can shape the engine to suit the game. That is a big benefit that not every game company has. And the Climb, definitely, the engine was not VR ready at the beginning. And then as we worked on the prototypes, as we experienced, hey, we need actual proper rendering for this, we need to adapt, we made it. The Climb 1 was developed for the Rift, and the Rift was powered by your classic PC at home. It looked beautiful. I think what we achieved was amazing. You have all this touch-bending vegetation, you have a headlight with shadow, you have little bugs on the wall that glow or something like that. It was lots of fidelity in there. And then, you know, Oculus comes with the mobile device, the Quest, asking us, hey, can we put the Climb onto a mobile phone?
We always had this challenge of every roughly 2 years that we did something on Android, and I think it flourished with VR on the Oculus Quest, which the Climb basically, which are two very good games, where we actually pushed the full game on Android and sold it.
And that was a massive challenge, bringing this high fidelity of Climb 1 into this little headset. That was a lot of work. That was taking down detail, and it was still not running, so you go another round of taking down detail.
Looking at the two versions, while the Rift 1 version might have a bit more fidelity, the mechanics are way better in the Quest version. We just polished it so much more.
We produced 2 games, we produced 2 launch titles. That's the biggest challenge actually here. we produced The Climb for Oculus, and it's still one of the top grossing games on that platform to today. I mean, right, that's an achievement to be proud of, if you ask me. And then we did Robinson the Journey, which was a bit more interactive and a bit more exploring and walking. But that has also perceived well, and from an adaptation point of view, every fifth PlayStation VR headset owner back then had Robinson, which is for me another milestone. So on the VR space, I think we did great.
We were really productive with The Climb and Robinson. I don't know, I think The Climb was done in like months. It was 6-7 months from start to finish. Because we had a game mechanic, we knew exactly this is what we want to build, and we went pretty much straight from prototype to, full production.
I came from a cartoonish background art-wise. I think that's the reason why Pascal back in the days also gave me a lot more creatures to do, which was actually an honor because I love doing this.
We said, hey, we want to do an experience that is like, as you would expect when you develop for PC or console, like a proper experience, right? You know what works in VR, storytelling works in VR. Let's make use of that.
Robinson being a VR game, it was quite demanding on the hardware.
The main challenge, I guess, as a game is to make an experience that the users can really immerse themselves into and not get distracted by the shortcomings of the VR tech. You need to render the images fast enough. Really, you need to keep the frame rate steady. You need to have it very high. You need to render 2 high-resolution images at 70 or even 90 frames per second, which is quite a challenge. And then you need to make sure it stays stable, because when you have frame rate drops, that is perceived as a micro stutter in the VR world, and it's really distracting for the players. So really that is a big part of the development of VR games, is to make sure everything runs at the frame rate you want it to.
We really need to make the most of what we have on screen, and there can be no extra fluff or anything like this. Everything that's in the scene has to matter, basically, because we have no budget for anything else.
For me, there was not really a difference. We just had the FPS we needed to hit, and just playing the game, identifying the areas that were like performing not so good, and then figuring out solutions how to improve these areas and the gameplay.
From beginning on, we try to stay in the boundaries of what's possible, but towards the end you realize you're always above somewhere. So when the project finishes and you say, okay, the levels are done, the look is done, and now it's time to bring it into budget. Identifying what's too expensive and then cutting down on it, which is mostly in our case draw calls, so the amount of different objects on screen or the amount of triangles on screen, and that's the regular cut place that we have to go in and optimize and see how we bring it into budget. Doing graphics is interpretation. Is this nice or not? Depends from person to person. Does this run good or not? Is very easy to say. So it's not creative, but it's easy to do. And once it's over, it's always the joy of starting something new, because always the last thing in the project, and when this is over, we can start to be creative again. So it's okay.
One of the biggest bottlenecks was draw calls, for sure. So we tried to do a lot with texture maps. There wasn't so much stuff scattered on the terrain, for example. It was more baked in. We did a lot with like photo scans there. And parallax occlusion mapping was working pretty cool. We were using this sometimes quite extensively in certain sci-fi areas. But then just very cleverly controlling the detail level just around the player, and then very soon fading this out where it doesn't matter so much. It was highly optimized game, yeah, for sure.
We had ideas in the beginning to make more alien plants and like an alien plant database, but this was cancelled quite fast because the scope was getting too big. The VR projects were very small in time scope, and also the team was not very big compared to the older projects. And we had to optimize it down, so most of the alien theme was coming from the animals and from the living creatures on the planet.
The team were like also really passionate about the game, the dinosaurs, the Laika, the companion that sat next to the player.
was most fun is to design Laika, our little T-Rex dinosaur baby. There were lots and lots of iterations about like how colorful and how crazy the dinosaurs could look like. I wish, if I'm honest, that we made a bit more like a crazy approach. After all, in the end, it was toned down a lot, more like realistically dinosaur approach. But I just thought like a little dose of Avatar, a bit more fantastic thing. I mean, we were on a different planet. We could have done anything we wanted, basically. But yeah, it's fine.
On one hand, it's of course better to have no limitations because you can go very creative and very really bizarre with ideas, which I really like. But on the other hand, having no limitations is actually too open, and then you get stuck, you invent something, and then you go right away questioning it and saying, oh, I could do more, I could do better, I could do more complex, you know? And then you go, no, wait, I could even top that. And then you end up in this loop of going, and also you don't have a criteria how to judge this. This is why it's important to have art direction or some sort of limitation, either time constraint or technological constraint, because then you get more creative actually with limitations. But of course, if it's too limited, then it's also choking.
We just give the inspiration and the setup sketch to the 3D artists, and they build the whole thing and place it, and they are responsible for the imagery that pops up in the game itself. I love when these creatures come to life, when they have like different lighting, and I can explore and see what they are doing with like the vision that we, or as a team, or the art director and me and all that we had together, bringing this to life, and then animation comes and gives it a look, like a turn of the head, and it's so sweet to see all of this coming to life. It's really nice.
So VR basically is only as good the content is, and as technically good the content is.
Making something from scratch, we didn't know what we can do in VR. We just know it immerses you, and that's a start. That's where we begin.
And we did basically Climb and Robinson, two experiences with the requirement that they are technically polished, and it offers a great experience. Transformation to games as a service is a beast, actually.
This is not the DNA of the Far Cry and Crysis people. We need to go first person.
There was a big demand from the community to play Crysis again.